welcome to the Healthy Connections cooking demo. My name is Lauren McGill and I'm the City of Austin Health Coach. Today we're going to be making a cozy fall recipe of vegetarian chili. One twist to this recipe is that we're going to be adding sweet potatoes. So I already went ahead and chopped the sweet potato and onion. So this is going to be what's going to take the longest part of the recipe. So I'm going to go ahead and get started right away, just so we can have those sweet potatoes start to cook, because they do tend to take a little bit longer. So the first thing is to make sure that the burner is on low to medium heat. I'm going to go ahead and coat the pot with olive oil. And then the very first step of this recipe is just to saute the onion and the sweet potato. So I'm going to go ahead and mix those in there together. You can hear the heat. It's already starting to go. So that's going to be about 5 minutes of the onions and sweet potato beginning to soften. So I'm going to go ahead and just leave that to start cooking. And I'm going to explain a little bit more about the recipe. So this is a really great recipe to have available on busy weeknights because most of the ingredients are shelf stable. So we're using canned beans, canned tomatoes, and the great thing about potatoes and onions, even though they are fresh produce, they have very long shelf life. So you can keep them for a few weeks to a month if they're in a dry, cool place where you store them. Both of those are probably going to be stored better on the counter. Unless you cut them open, then you want to go ahead and put them into the fridge. So the sweet potato that I added in there actually already had the peel taken off, but you can always leave the peel on, and that's going to add some additional fiber to the recipe. That's one of the benefits of this vegetarian recipe, is that it's very high in fiber. And fiber is an important nutrient that helps to keep your GI tract healthy. It prevents heart disease by lowering bad cholesterol, and it also can help prevent diabetes by slowing down the digestion of those carbohydrates, giving you a more steady release of blood sugar throughout the day. So as these onions and sweet potatoes are sauteing, after about 5 minutes, once the onion has started to soften, you're going to go ahead and add in the spices and the garlic. The spices I am including today are chili powder, cumin, a tiny bit of cayenne pepper for a kick, and a small amount of salt. You always want to add less salt to begin with, and then at the end you can taste it and see if you need more, because you can't take it out once you add it in. So I'm going to go ahead and dump those spices in there, as well as the garlic. Garlic is a great flavor booster in any recipe, and it also has antioxidant properties. So it's going to add an anti-inflammatory boost to this recipe as well. So I'm going to go ahead and coat the onions and sweet potatoes. Turn up the heat a little bit more. So just for about 30 seconds, you're going to let these flavors come together. And then the next step is going to be adding about 2.5 cups of water. And so for this recipe, I'm choosing to do water instead of broth, because that's also going to keep it a lower sodium recipe. And we're getting all of the flavor from those spices that I added in. So the next step is to turn up the heat, add on the lid, and just let those ingredients simmer for about 10 to 12 minutes until the sweet potato gets soft. So while I'm letting that start to cook, I'm going to go ahead and just show you how I prep the ingredients. So first, to get started, chopping the onion can always be tricky, especially if it is a sweet onion or a white onion, because those tend to make you tear up. So one of the tricks to try and reduce that reaction is to either keep the onion in the fridge or the freezer before you start to chop it. You can also try to chop the onion under the vent of your smoke hood, and that can help to kind of push away that reactant from your eyes. I am one that I always tear up when I'm chopping onions, so that's why I went ahead and did it ahead of time. So before you start chopping any fruit or vegetable, you want to make sure that you have a good grip on the knife, and then the rest of your fingers are pulled underneath out of the way. And then the hand that's going to hold the produce, just make sure that your fingers are tucked. So for this onion, the skin is still on, I'm just gonna go ahead and peel it off before I start to dice it. And it's pretty simple. You just wanna make sure that you're holding that piece of vegetable in place and then moving the knife up and down with a smooth rhythm. And then the pieces can really be as small or big as you choose. And then when it comes to the sweet potato, again, it's the same thing. You want to make sure that you wash and dry the outside of the sweet potato. Again, you can choose to peel it or you can leave the skin on. You're just going to get an added boost of fiber by leaving the skin on. And one of the benefits of sweet potatoes is that they have this bright orange color. And so that's really the nutrient that is so healthy for us. It's called beta-carotene, and it helps to keep your vision healthy long term. And it's also an antioxidant that helps to lower inflammation and keeps you healthy. So sweet potatoes are a great addition to any of these fall meals. And then the last little bit of produce that I had prepped ahead of time is garlic. And so one tip for garlic is once you get the pod, it can be difficult to peel off the skin on its own. It can be tedious and it gets stuck to your fingers. So what you want to do is take your knife, point it away from you, and with the flat side, just put your palm on top and press down onto the garlic pod. And as you can see, it was able to just break apart, and then it becomes a lot easier to peel that skin off. And then whenever you're mincing garlic, you want to just make sure, again, you have a good grip on the knife, and then you make sure your fingers are out of the way. Another way that I usually do it is also just put my hand on top once it's already chopped a little bit and move the knife for a rough dice there. All right, so let's go ahead and check on the sweet potato, see how it's going. It's starting to smell good. So I know it hasn't been 10 to 12 minutes, but we're going to go ahead and move forward with the recipe because I already prepped one ahead of time so we can try it at the end. The next step, once the sweet potato is softened to a point where you feel like it could be ready to eat, you're going to add in the beans and the tomatoes. So both of these are canned options, and one important thing to remember when you're buying canned food is trying to get the no salt added. So with this, you're going to be lowering the sodium. Another trick is if you aren't getting the no salt added, just make sure that you put your canned vegetables into a colander and rinse them with water, and that's going to help to get off that excess sodium. So I already went ahead and rinsed these beans and tomatoes ahead of time. So the next step, I'm just going to go ahead and dump them on in. And the last step is to add some fresh lime juice. I went ahead and squeezed the lime already. You can also just have a bottle of lime juice ready to go in your fridge, and that can help with cooking. So I'm going to dump that in there and mix it all together. And then we're just going to let this sit and simmer until it's ready to go. This is a great family recipe for busy weeknights because most of the items are shelf stable and it is really affordable. So it makes about 4 servings at least, and it's about $1.38 per serving. So really, really affordable family meal. And so here I have 1 bowl of the finished product already. And the best part is adding your own toppings. So today I'm going to add a little bit of cilantro. I'm going to go ahead and cut an avocado to add on top. Some other good toppings could be sliced jalapeno, or you can even use plain Greek yogurt in substitution of sour cream. So whenever you're choosing an avocado, you want to make sure that it is firm, but you get a little bit of push with your thumb. And generally you want it to be more of this darker color. That's going to let you know that it's ripe. The bright green ones are probably going to take a few more days to ripen. You can put them in a brown bag on your counter to accelerate that process. So I'm just going to get a hold of it and then go ahead and cut all the way through. So that seed in the middle, we just want to avoid that. And then an easy tip for adding it, you can just go ahead and slice a grid right into that portion of the avocado, which makes it really easy to just squeeze out into the chili. So I can't wait to try it. It looks delicious.